Hello, I'm back. It has been a long absence because, well, life happens. And my voice is going in and out, so it's husky right now. And this is happening with age. The older I'm getting, the huskier my voice is getting. And I don't know why. I don't smoke. I've never smoked. Nor am I around smokers. And it's very confusing. I do talk a lot with my job, so maybe it's a side effect of talking a lot, or a side effect of not talking a lot and then talking a lot and then not talking. I don't know. I don't like it, but we'll see. Or maybe it's where I talk in my throat. Maybe I spent a lot of time talking in the back of my throat. Now that I'm paying attention, maybe I should talk in the front of my voice, at the front of my mouth. Oh, I've just discovered that. You know, that is something about me. Ooh, now I'm going to talk with my diaphragm. I was a bit of a wallflower as a child, and if you're not familiar with that phrase, you're probably very young. A wallflower is somebody who stands in the periphery of the social situations and just watches, but doesn't really get involved. They just watch. They're not popular. And for me, I was bullied, so I really didn't want to be seen. And as such, you have a mousy, timid personality, soft-spoken. And so, yeah, you do use, I guess, the back of your throat, and you are quieter. So maybe that's been my problem. I'm more used to using the areas of my throat that would make my voice quieter and me not heard that well. And maybe that part of my voice is tired, and now it's trying to force me to use the part of my speaking apparatus to project and be louder. Because all my life, people have asked me to speak up. And yeah, this is, like, you notice my posture just dropped. A smaller posture, and now I'm speaking in the part of my throat where my voice is wanting to go away. But then when I raise my shoulders and use my diaphragm and not speak in that part of my voice is louder. Life lessons. And if you hear the water, there are other people who live here, and I'm in the basement because it's supposed to be quieter. What can you do? Anyway, so Madge has gotten married, or she's going to be married. She's 12. This is a fantasy thing. So now they have stopped somewhere, and hopefully tonight was not so ill-omened to have afforded such guests. What kind of guest? Who knows? I think I talked about this in one of my 2 previous videos, but I'm a pantster. Even though my writing process is, I have an ending in mind, I don't start until I know how it ends. And so I daydream until I have a storyline with an ending I like. And this book had multiple different endings until I found one that I liked. And once I have a good ending that I like, then I start at a beginning. And even though I daydreamed a storyline, that doesn't mean that's the storyline that gets written. All I know is point A and point Z, or Z. I say Z because it's fun to say instead of Z, even though I'm not Canadian or whatever other countries say Z. I just like to be weird. So I know a bunch of stuff that potentially could happen in the middle. And this is a weird story. My writing aspirations, the people I admired as a child and who I most wanted to write like, are Tolkien and Frank Herbert. When I was being a wallflower, as a child, I read a lot of books. And a side effect of reading a lot of books, and books being your only friends as a child, your reading comprehension, your reading level is way more advanced than what it would be had you not been reading constantly. So when I say I read The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and the Dune books before I graduated grade school, please believe me, because if you know the reading level of those books, an 11, 12, 13-year-old doesn't typically get into those books. Typically. I did read Nancy Drew. I did read the Chronicles of Narnia, the Babysitter's Club, the Fear Street books, and all them. And I was reading my mom's books. She caught me going for Clan of the Cave Bears. She stopped me. That was the only time she noticed the books that I was reading. But she stopped me because there were some sexy scenes in that book. And she didn't realize I had already read some books with some scenes. Some books they were like the Arthurian legend. So what my mom didn't know about her 10, 11, 12-year-old daughter didn't hurt her, because this is the 80s, early 90s. Parents had no idea that their little Catholic school kids were already doing the horizontal tango at that age. Yeah, 11, 12-year-olds. Catholic school kids had a reputation at that time for a reason. Parents didn't supervise them. I didn't, because I was bullied. Nobody wanted anything to do with me. But as a wallflower, you heard everything. So I knew who was doing what with who. I was just reading my books like, okay, I'm already reading all the details of what you're doing, but now I'm hearing all the details of what you're doing. Oh, the boy doesn't know what bloody fingers means if he did that. Boys don't know about periods. It's a shame. The men in the books do. They don't care about it. Modern day children are so sheltered, it seems. Anyway, so a 12-year-old getting married off in a fantasy world. Let's go. What's Madge doing? Oh yeah, but this book is weird. Even the books I read as a child and the weird stuff going on in Dune and Tolkien and the other stuff that I was exposed to as a child, like, this book is weird. And I'm going, my friend thinks that I tap into other dimensions and that's where I get these story ideas. This one is weird. It is weird what this main character is potentially going through. I'm wondering if that's what's going to stay in the book. And most storylines have like a cohesive story, like Lord of the Rings. Here's a ring, go to the tower, and yeah, there's some little other things going on, but the main goal is, this is it. And even, the Dune, there's the spice and the worms and power and political stuff. Don't expect a simple story, because this happens, and then this happens, and then this. So it's almost like 7 different storylines happening in sequence, or 8. And it's kind of fun. I actually am really excited. I hope that's what happens, because it's like in the beginning there's this, and then after this happens, then there's this, and then after this happens, then there's this, and after that happens, then there's this, and after that happens, then there's this, and after that, then there's this. And it's just all these cool things happen to this one character right after another. And I don't see books that do that. Normally it's, again, one story. So let's go. This is a 10-minute rambling. I apologize. I have ADHD. I did take my meds today, but they're not really working. Okay. It is dangerous to travel too late. No more dangerous than staying on course. Matt said softly. Alright, the smell was the first thing she entered. It was the sweat of hundreds of travelers, dust of thousands of miles, smoke from dozens of pipes, and the uncleansed vomit of too many drunken brawls. Madge felt her stomach churn upon entry, her hands moving to cover her nose with her perfumed handkerchief. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, she cast a quick glance about, unwilling to let her gaze linger too long on any one feature or person. No one seemed interested in the child being led quickly to the steps. She seemed like more trouble than the reward. The innkeeper kept a wary eye on his patrons, though. Even though they seemed disinterested, he knew the type of people who came through from time to time. Hopefully, tonight was not so ill-omened to afford such a guest. Madge settled onto the bed. So modern writing bothers me because really poorly written books get published. I mean, awful, awful books. I've got to look this up online. So, anyway, I thought there was something I'd heard about something, and it wasn't true, which is good because it was awful. But and the reason why I say books are poorly written is because books are not published anymore based on the quality of the writing. They're published now based on the amount of followers that somebody has. I have come across some stories online and dared to read them, and my soul died. Just because there's the saying when I was younger, when it came to writing, is you show, you don't tell. And one example is I'm a nerd, and I did LARP for a while before 2020, and then just that killed it. And the couple was running a campaign where we were, fighting some undead creatures or whatever. And we came into, I think it was a dungeon that was half submerged because the Lord of the Land had driven his people in there and then filled it with water. And so we were coming in to find the thing to end the plague that was making all the undead. So of course we have to fight undead as we're going in. And I had to play some of the undead. And at one point there was an area where there was a kind of a rise in the structure, and the way the runners of the campaign described it as the first wave of adventurers came through. And again, I'm playing the zombie up here on this rise, and it was behind like a kind of a grate, so they could see me as I'm playing the zombie, but I couldn't reach them. So I wasn't really a threat. I was just a visual element. So the runner of the campaign told the first wave of adventurers, so up there you see some children that are zombies. And they were like, Oh, okay. And then they kept going. So there wasn't really any emotional impact. So the second wave came through, and I was allowed to describe what they saw. So the second wave came through, and I go, so you guys see, creatures that you've been seeing, the undead, except they're not the large creatures you've been fighting. They're much, much smaller. And they immediately went, oh, because they knew children. They figured it out. They were shown that they're not adults they're fighting. No, these are kids. And that's not like the greatest example, but it's the difference between when you tell people this is what you're seeing, it takes them out of the story a bit. But when you show them and they get to create and visualize and bring in their emotions a bit, then they're more connected to it and they're immersed in it. And then that's when they fall in love with characters and they fall in love with everything a bit more. And I know a lot of stories that are poorly written still have a great following. I know like Twilight had such a great following. There were some parts I know that were shown and that were told, and it was all from this young girl's point of view, and it was so popular with those young girls who wanted that obsessive romance with that hot boy. And I still haven't read it. My friend told me the storyline because she was young and she was reading it. She told me the storyline of all the books. I was so bored. I was like, huh? Because again, my reading level was so much more advanced, and it didn't do anything for me. And my reading comprehension, or my advanced comprehension teacher, she ended up her students ended up convincing her to read it, and she read the first book and she came in like, I'm teaching you guys to be better writers than this. Because again, the showing isn't there. It's people go, man, the place really stinks, as opposed to, what's the smells there? How does it stink? Oh, this boy's really beautiful. That's what my teacher, she's like, is there any other way that they could describe this boy other than beautiful about Twilight? And so I try to keep that in mind while I'm writing, because if I read a lot of modern day stuff, I'm terrified that my writing quality is going to be impacted because you do follow the trends of what you read. So it's like, so as a writer, you got to be careful about what you read, but at the same time, you still want to follow modern day trends. And so that's what I'm worried, because the tavern they came in, I wrote this in the last video, but the smell was the first thing she noticed as she entered. It was the sweat of hundreds of travelers, dust of thousands of miles, smoke from dozens of pipes, and uncleansed vomit of too many drunken brawls. Like, I'm hoping that's showing just how much this place stinks. But then at the same time, you don't want to constantly be showing. You do got to mix a little bit of telling, because overtly flowery is overwhelming. It's like it's going into, oh, is it? I haven't shopped in malls in so long. I don't know, is Bed Bath & Beyond, I don't know, is Bed Bath & Beyond still a store? Okay, they're still in. Okay, so they're still in business. They're not all closed. I remember like a lot of stores that closed, but it's like walking into Bed Bath and Beyond, and you're just assailed by all these scents. Sometimes too much is too much. So there's a balancing act that you've got to do to be a great writer. And if you really care about being a really good writer, you want to have a really good editor. But to be a really, really good writer, you want to find a good writing group and have them read your work and critique it, and not be afraid of what they tell you is wrong. That's one thing that I have as a weakness, because I've had people in my life read my materials, and they come back and I go, it's so good. And I go, okay, what's wrong with it? Nothing. No, there's always something wrong. Please tell me. So it's really hard to find those people in your life who can recognize what's wrong. Like, okay, so this character is a little flat. There's no depth to this character. The transition from this part to this part is incorrect. You're over flowery with your language here. You're weak with your transitions here. The tensing changed here. There was a gap in the story. There's always something wrong, and you want to find the no men in your life when it comes to writing. You want to find the people who will point out the inconsistencies and the flaws and the plot holes, and you used a MacGuffin here, or you used a way too many Deus Ex Machinas, or this character is too much, pull back on their personality. You want that. You want those people. And that's what a good writing group will do. A good writing group. People who aren't afraid to tell you, this sucks. But you also have to know those are the people who have your best interest in mind. I realize I'm looking at myself and not the camera, but sorry. But those are the people who have your best interest in mind, because they will make your story better and more award-winning. But I know we're trying to appeal to the masses and sell more, but sometimes appealing to the masses is good, but appealing to the masses and being critically acclaimed makes it timeless. And that's where the Pride and Prejudice kind of stories come into play, where it's generational, because you want it to be, you don't want it to be a flash in the pan, where the next generation comes up and they laugh at it. They go, why was this good? This is trash. So I want to keep writing, but I want to keep these at about 30 minutes long. So today I was really more talky, and I'm sorry. I know I want to keep this more righty, but I had a lot to say about this, about the process. I think because this first part where she's young, she's not to the manor yet. She hasn't met her very, very, very old husband. He's a great character, so great. And but there's a lot of great characters in this, and the conflict, there's weird conflict in it. There's not a big bad. Well, there is. Actually, there is. But anyway. Yeah, I guess I'll do the cliche. Like, follow, subscribe, hop a like. Message me if you want to see what I've written. I don't mind emailing this to you. But it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be a weird story, but it made me giggle. So thanks for joining me.